Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Welcome. Thank you. Thanks so much for coming this evening. My name is Cameron Bailey. I'm the artistic director and co-head here at TIFF, and it is my great pleasure to welcome you to this evening's special event, director Ang Lee on Gemini Man, the new film starring Will Smith. Thanks so much for coming. Before we begin, we like to take a moment to acknowledge where we are. We are on the treaty territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation and the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee, the Anishinaabe, and Huron-Wendat. They have been on this land for, in some cases, thousands of years, and we're grateful to have the opportunity to work in this community and to support First Nations, Inuit, and Métis communities by showing the works of Indigenous filmmakers here at TIFF. I'd like to thank the organizations and the people who make what we do here possible, beginning with our lead sponsor, Bell, our major sponsors, RBC, L'Oreal Paris, and Visa, and our major public supporters, the Government of Canada, the Government of Ontario, and the City of Toronto. And thanks also to our individual members and donors. I imagine many of you, I see some of you here tonight. Thank you so much for your support, for supporting TIFF's year-round learning programs. And a big thank you to Paramount Pictures Canada for providing us with tonight's film, which we are presenting in 2K 3D at 60 frames per second, which is more than double the usual frame rate for all of you frame rate nerds out there, and I will count myself among them. We'd also like to thank our community partners for their support. In the house tonight, we have Black Youth Pathway to Industry. Now we know where you guys are, and we have the Real Asian International Film Festival. Thank you also to you. Their festival's coming up soon, so they might be actually off working, many of them. But we're always thrilled to welcome members from organizations that foster creativity, empowerment, and personal expression, and we look forward to future collaborations with these two community partners. We're thrilled to present this sneak preview of Gemini Man from Academy Award-winning filmmaker Ang Lee. He really is the definition of a master filmmaker. His films over almost 30 years have shown deep human insight, a complete command of the medium, and complete innovation almost with every single film. He's done something new. Some of his most acclaimed films include Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon in 2000, the highest grossing foreign language film in US history and winner of the Academy Award for Best Foreign Language Film, Best Cinematography, Best Original Score, and Best Art Direction Set Decoration. He went on to direct Brokeback Mountain in 2005, which played at the festival here, and won the Academy Awards for Best Director, Best Adapted Screenplay, and Best Original Score. And in 2012, he made Life of Pi, which was nominated for 11 Academy Awards and won Best Director, Best Cinematography, Best Visual Effects, and Best Original Score. Ang Lee's other films include such classics as Eat, Drink, Man, Woman, Sense and Sensibility, one of my favorites, The Ice Storm, Lust, Caution, and most recently, Billy Lynn's Long Halftime Walk. No filmmaker today has broken new ground so often and so consistently. He's taught us how to watch screen stories with new eyes. Please join me in welcoming Ang Lee.
Thank you. Is that the microphone? I'm very happy to be here. I always love to come to Toronto. It's a great movie city. It's just great city, period. And it's the first time I step into this theater. It looks great. It's a terrific theater. I hope you're enjoying the show you're about to see. This movie is a leap of faith for me. Not only because I keep exploring what digital cinema and 3D immersive cinema can offer to us as a new experience. We have one of our leading men that didn't exist before we started, and we didn't even know if we can do it because it was never been tried before. I was convinced that if a CG person, a de-aged person, is a lead person, which carried not only action but dramatic ways, it should be created, not just what they call de-aging, which is brush off the wrinkles. I think you shouldn't de him. You should create him. And I think digital cinema is within reach that we can reach that. In our world, we call it the holy grail. It's like you're not supposed to do that. So I want to thank the investors. They bestowed their trust in me. This is an action movie. This is not Life of Pi or Brokeback Mountain. I have to deliver action and certain genre thing, but just to see Will Smith face to face each other and visualize, actualize their the inner conflict. It's such a fascinating idea to me, and it's indeed a challenge. I told them I think after the Tiger Life of Pi, in theory, I think we can do it, but I have no proof because nobody done it before, and I didn't tell them the scary part about human look at human face. But no, here we go. Once the show started, it just won't give up until you think you can show it to people and to make believe. I hope I make believe for you. It's a full CG character in an immersive cinema kind of way. It's something new. I hope you take it in. No, I gotta learn from you guys. We gotta support each other in some venture like this. And I love movie. I love audience. This is what I do. This is what I love. Well, I don't want to bore you or drag on, and I'll talk to you after the show. I hope you like it.
And congratulations on the film. It's another remarkable leap forward for cinema. I mean, I went through so many emotions watching the film. I have a 10-year-old son. We've been watching The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air together. And it is just weird to see young Will and old Will in the same movie. You said that you wanted to try to develop a new aesthetic for digital cinema. And your recent films, Life of Pi and Billy Lynn's Long Halftime Walk, and this film, Gemini Man, seem to be really progressing that new digital aesthetic. But how would you describe what that digital aesthetic is?
It's very hard to, if something look pretty, it look pretty. It started to look pretty to my eyes, the way I shot it, which is a lot more than this. This is what a normal cinema can play. But you have a taste of it. I just thought Life of Pi was the first one I get on with 3D dimensionalized filmmaking. I was curious, and because of that, I had to use digital. And like everybody, I look down on digital. There's no aesthetic. It still is, and we've been imitating film because that's look beautiful to us. And it's always like you try to get a chemistry, the chemical thing through digital effort. It's just while I was doing Pi, I know I try to imitate film as much as I can, and I was doing 3D, but I was trying to be as much 2D as I can because once I opened up the volume, I couldn't even see it. No, we're doing a floating movie. It's like I'm screwed, and that was the hardest movie. We got water, got a tiger with a kid, and the visual effects and 3D all banged together. I was like freaked out when I saw it. Only 2 weeks before we start shooting. So I learned very quickly that when you have two eyes come to a point, they have to agree with each other. The way you process somehow, I don't know. I just need to be sharper. And when I open up the shadow to reduce the strobe, I pick up blur. So there's no real solution to that. So to be honest with you, Pi has a pretty smooth journey across the Pacific, unless it's all CG storm. Then the picture's clean, you can do whatever you want. I began to think things don't add up. Why do we do 3D, but our head is really 2D? Why do we lie this way? Why does it have to 24? and I was doing digital, and we looked down on digital, no, it's television because you associate with not so good, not art, but no, television. Um, and eventually, I realized you need more information even to absorb it in 3D, dimensionalized filmmaking. People say it's realistic, it's immersive, but in that space, actually, is more to me, at least to my eyes, the perception is even less solid. It's more elusive. It's a very strange thing. It seems to have a thing of its own that relate to digital because digital effort allow the accuracy. The film you can with those moving grains, you cannot really line them up. It's not a good idea to use film to do 3D. So that seems to come together. Then I found why do we when we have dimensionalized space, why do we throw that light to compensate the missing dimension? That's what we do in film. The lighting, the shadows, the perspective, the angles, all that we're so good at, and you portray the faces. A lot of the things we did, and including performance, that seems to have something to do with 2D compensation to the 3D. That becomes the art. And in compensating the to me now it's low frame rate. It's not even normal. The 24, the minimum to carry soundtrack seems to have its thing too. You know, the compensation of that becomes like the art. I got really confused. I thought I know how to make movie. I got a few Oscars.
I think you do.
Yeah, I think I know, but I'm deeply confused, confounded. I felt the rock under my feet was taken out because I know that making movie better than I know about life or technology. I just want to find what is it. And gradually I found digital cinema probably has something to do with dimension. And you have to light it differently. You have to create something. So we think that's beautiful. What it is, I'm still searching. I think the first step is it's more look like life. So you want to be more like life. So as we call it, more realistic. I don't think that's the end result. Nobody just judging how good our work is based on unless they're photorealism painters, then actually want to get away from realism. So eventually we're going to the sort of a new illusion that's pretty. We want to play something there, but in a different way, with dimension, with the perception, the way you process the information, very much like your life in real life. You process in your head, it works somehow differently. I just vaguely feel like it's something there that belongs to digital cinema. There is a tremendous beauty to grasp that has something to do with the new lighting, with the way you calculate frame rate and resolution, contrast of lights, and saturation of light. And I start to look around in life, like why that look beautiful to me? The setting sun looks beautiful, this and that. Why cloudy days sometimes you feel, why something look pretty? Why do I think that? I start to pay attention to that.
Yeah.
I haven't figured out, honestly.
But it's an exploration.
But
It's something that's
I
ongoing.
feel there's something
Yeah.
there to grasp.
One of the things I find.
Yeah, that's of its own, not
Yeah.
imitating film.
Yes. This is, I think, what I find most
That's
interesting.
digital. I think there's something there.
Yeah.
Let's not deny that just yet.
That the aesthetic for digital cinema shouldn't try to imitate what film has done, but has to find its own language in a way, its own
I
vocabulary.
think so. I don't want to do oil painting imitating watercolor or do sculpture imitating painting.
Okay. There are a number of technical innovations that you're working with in this film and in your most recent work as well. There's the de-aging, there's the fully computer-generated character in Junior in the film, there's a high frame rate, there's 3D, there's many different things. I wonder if you could talk about each one of those technical innovations and what work they do to enhance the story. So not just about the innovation itself, but how do they actually help tell the story?
They all are. I think to tell a story, you need a structure which we are very much locked into feature film kind of structure, a 3 act. They work certain ways. And where I get confused is it seems like the shot itself has a lot of story to tell. It's very much in the mise en scene, the details. Uh, I would like, if I'm allowed to, I would like to follow a storyline or create narrative that's quite different from a narrative kind of storyline. I think that might serve the dimensionalized movie better. I'm still experimenting. I'm not allowed to do that. I'm delivering an action movie. Uh, no, it has to work like go to a theater near you. I'm pretty confused on that myself. How do you deliver that while you try to do this and that and
The
just try to grab.
yeah.
But I think I would like to see that a different way of telling stories, like non-linear, more intuitive, and with more detail. With not just actor tells you how they feel, not to have the shallow focus pulling or montage that tell you where you're supposed to look, so you can think one way or this way or that way, but more wandering around. I don't know if you call that story anymore,
Well, it
but
doesn't
that's
have to be narrative to be cinema.
I would like to see more freedom. To be honest with
Uh-huh.
you, see if new media create more different expression. I would like to see movie not necessarily play 4 hours, 2 hours, or whatever. It has more free forms eventually. But right now it's expensive. I gotta deliver expensive. I keep apologizing.
No doubt.
But, and it has to get something has to hit you in the gut level, and that for the bigger crowd is it works certain ways. I'm trying to get used to that.
Can I
But I
ask you
think
about yeah?
eventually, I would like to see we're free from the movie we used to see, and there's something other wonderful things to entertain us in different format. Like how movie started is valuable. It's like different program, or like Chinese operas when they show, they just pick different. You get entertained this way, that way. Says who it has to be like beginning, middle, and it follows. In page 25, something has to happen. Then page 50 is the way of no return, and it's getting pretty stiff, I would say. We're used to that, and we get entertained that way. I think there are a lot more other chances to entertain. I think there's a lot of potential. Let me put it this way. I'm searching. I'm also making very expensive movie. How many times did I say that?
I want to ask you about one of those spectacular sequences. I'm not going to ask how much it cost, but the Cartagena sequence is really remarkable. And I imagine that because of the technological innovations you're using, that you might have to shoot an action sequence, a chase sequence, differently than you would if you were shooting conventionally. How did a sequence like that work given the technology you're using?
Lots of preparation because what we do is kind of experimental and very expensive. So, so you have to do a lot of planning. You have to be extra diligent. A lot of scout to pick where I think is pretty. I dare say that's the prettiest action scene. I don't know if that's the most exciting. That's the prettiest action sequence. When I was shooting it, I was nervous the studio's gonna get on my. I was like, this look
Why?
pretty, but where's the action? Where's the pace? Where's the coverages? I shot in a pretty because it's difficult and we didn't have all that much time. We didn't have a second unit. I shot everything, so I scout the place and pick the places I like. I sort of work out a plot in my head and. Then I go with the production designer and the action choreographer because I'm not a stunt person. I don't know what motorcycle can do what. So we all design things. Then we come back to work with the storyboard artist, the pre-visualization. So we made a cartoon animation, a sequence, and get approved in an endless meeting. And we go back with a big crew a couple of times to Cartagena to measure everything see the doability, calculate time. It's very complicated. A lot of planning. In the shooting days, we pretend it's like a outside world that's very. It's infested with tourists. So, and it's a historical site, 400-year-old wars and pressures, this and that. So get a permit to shoot one section, lock up one section at a time. It was a big job. So for the motorcycle, it's about a week, maybe 5, 6 days. Actually, somebody know that. I have a crew here.
Yes, you do have some members of your crew here.
Yeah,
we should introduce them. We have
the Toronto
audience,
residents.
Yes, Dimitri Portelli, a 3D expert.
3D expert, our 3D.
Can you stand up and
person.
say hello, Dimitri?
Can you stand up and wave to people? Ah,
Darren
our local
Brown,
hero.
Darren Brown, the second AD.
He will know exactly how many days we shot. Yeah, for motorcycle.
Total motorcycle was probably close to 2 6-day weeks.
2 6-day weeks just for the motorcycle.
That's right.
Maybe just under.
Okay. We've got Daniel George, a lab technician. Daniel.
And Tony are here. My previous movie, Building, he's the special effects. Tony, are you here?
Tony.
Please stand up.
There's Tony.
Yeah. Good to see you.
And technical supervisor Ben Gervais. Here as well.
He's the real local hero.
All right.
Here.
Are all of you Torontonians, or most of you?
They are. They are.
Amazing.
All right.
All right. That's fantastic.
Where was I? Then we shoot. Ben can tell you how complex it is. We put all the equipment, 3D rigs, 2 cameras, and I don't know, some 20 different lines and computers, everything onto e-bike. And so the whole scene was very much shot through the e-bike because everything else, we cannot get the cars up there because historical war. So only like a motorcycle, barely 2 that we can manage there. Just for a little while, then we go down from the wall. My already design was just on the wall, up and down, up and down, so many, but we can. That's how we developed that bike, the final sequence with the bike whipping around. They call it bike food because we only got 2 days left. We cannot go around too much. So they said, why don't nobody done bike food on screen? Let's try that bike food. 2 days you can get a lot done just in that one spot.
I like the bike food. It was good.
Bike food. Sometimes I got bike jisoo or bike food. I'm Chinese. I like bike food better.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, just see how the 2 motorcycle chase is quite amazing. The guy has like 1,000 pounds of weight on a motorcycle, and you see it as this kind of clarity. You can fool people with the speed, with the blur and strobe. 70 miles per hour in a narrow lane on the wall, it's 70 miles. You cannot fool them. And then because we're 3D and you pick up so much detail, a lot of horizontal moves just pump up your energy. You work with the strobe. That doesn't really, the normal chasing tricks don't really, we can still make it work, but you don't take advantage of that. So I do a lot of straight on, head on kind of where you can see faces, you can see detail of how they aim, how they do this, how they do that. I think feeling a lot of details and absorbing. Actually, it's much less shot than normal chasing scene, and there's a lot slower. The shots are longer. The cutting pace is like quite a few times slower, but actually I hope you feel exciting. It's busier because it has a lot more stuff to look at.
It feels very immersive. It does feel like you're there. We've been talking a lot about the technical elements, and you could see acting as a kind of a technical element in cinema as well. And I wanted to ask you about casting Will Smith and about directing him in the 2 performances in a way that he gives as a motion capture that you then put into the computers and turn him into a digital character. And then there's the real Will Smith. It takes a particular kind of actor to be able to do that. So can you talk a little bit about why Will Smith for this role, and then also what you had to tell him to act in the 2 performances?
Well, Will Smith is a no-brainer. Will Smith want to play this. You want a good actor who's being on top for biggest movie star for the last 30 years. I don't think there's many people like Will Smith. Uh, in the beginning, I felt he's a little on the younger side because we talk about age, but he's Will Smith, so uh, it's great to have him because he's a popular figure, a performer since he was a teenager. So to get down to junior, you gotta peel over many layers in terms of he was a performer. How do you get the because this thing pick up genuine feelings, gut feelings quite sharply. So it's not really about performing. He has to feel that way. And then we have to portray, he has to drive the performance. And every bit of this is Will's performance, which is translated into the younger self. It's not exactly equation because the old skin doesn't do the same thing as the young skin.
Yeah, don't we know it?
Muscles. He wish, but it doesn't. Like when we study like this, it's a lot of work, but he still have to drive it. He can provide a lot of the voice. We make it less huskier, but he has to provide the bass, the less bass, the pitch. He will provide. He's a good performer that way. But to get to the innocence and also fight the temptation that you want to do the Will Smith you used to like, which is very different from this part. Uh, that's tricky because we want to go there because people will be very happy to see that. But I think he'll be reluctant to do it. The problem is he's a much better actor now. He wants you to know that he's a better actor. And it's a more sensitive role, and it's quite different than when he was young. Well, you want to give a little hint of because the time we're used to enjoying him. So just get to that right place. Um, we use many reference from his old movies. I will tell a genuine moment. I think that's like the tricky part, the sweet spot that will work this movie. A lot of his famous thing, the swagger, that it probably not won't be working for this media and for this role, and he was very aware of that. And then his personal life, no, when he was a younger man, what happened, and this is a military upbringing, junior, and he has the same thing. So he went through him and his father. So a lot of references, but still, I want to see. Once you see it, you still have like a year's effort. 500 artists, like day in day out, try to find it. The rendering is quite expensive. People ask me, how many times I say? People ask me, do I want to get rid of actors someday? That would was no. Junior is 3 4 times more expensive than Will Smith. You don't have to worry about that for a very long time.
Will doesn't need to be worried about anything.
Yeah, it's really hard.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to do it. It's like cloning. You're not supposed to do it.
You know, I think a lot of people here probably know your earlier films before you began to make these kinds of technical experiments. And I'm wondering if you see the films that you were making in the 90s and the early 2000s, going all the way back to Wedding Banquet and Eat, Drink, Man, Woman, Sense and Sensibility, where the films were so much about social nuance, about characters pushing against society's rules. Do you see a through line between those films you were making then and what you're doing now with a film like Gemini Man?
Yeah, I know people ask me that a lot. From time to time, I give different answer because I thought that it is. I thought it's about sensibility, free will against society, like a communal life. And sometimes I feel it's this, sometimes about that. I don't know if I should say that, but I think it's perhaps I'm a naive kind of person. I grow very slowly. I'm very easy to trust people. I like to rely on something. I like to believe. I have faith in something. But that thing always is like natural law that always change. I don't know what to believe anymore. But I always want to grab onto something, something that doesn't change. But the essence of life, as the Taoists say, is about changing. Um, so I think that's always there. There's some elements like social, and lately I've been doing military things. Um, I guess I'm a nice guy. I'm really, I don't just look nice. I'm really a nice guy. But I don't know where, when I make movie, where that aggression comes from.
It's got
Not
to
just
go
Hulk,
somewhere.
like anything you do that looks pretty, you gotta get, like, with this media, it's so hard. Even pulling focus is it's impossible. It takes a lot of aggression, and people are like against you. Every situation against you. Where did that come from? Like you gotta to make that happen. I don't mean I'm mean to my crew, right? I'm not a mean guy. Yeah. I don't mean that kind of aggression, but you just see, I know it's like a killer when he's about to pull the trigger. What makes me want to train that tiger on the floating raft across the Pacific? There seems to be a zone that I'm pursuing. Um, so that's always kind of there. When I started off, family drama is the biggest adventure to me. Um, I took that adventure, and then I think I know what I'm doing, and then I did it English with sensibility. That's more scary than this.
Oh, really?
I spoke broken English, and I was directing Emma Thompson and Hugh Grant and with the A-list British crew and Jen Austen. That's really scary. I survived that. I thought there's a lot of things I can do and venture into different things. So I don't know where that come from. Exploring, but at the same time, I have to deal with fear. A lot of my movie deal with fear and insecurity and adventure. Uh, you cannot really verbalize that, make sense out of it. That's just what I'm made of.
That's interesting. Maybe fear is the one constant through all of your films and characters facing them.
I guess so. Fear keep you alive, and doubt.
Fear keeps you alive.
I think fear keep you alert. I say that. That's my line. I say that in the movie. Scared is good.
You came up
I
with
mean,
that
Will
line.
does that better than he sounds like to a woman like scared is good. That means you're alert, and then nothing will be the same after this, and you throw that phone away. I don't know how to do that. Yeah, I think fear is a big drive, but at the same time, you want excitement. Seems like boredom is a motivation as well at times. Security and freedom that sort of work against each other. I think that when I'm in touch with people in the audience, I think we share a lot of the same thing. I just use a different way to entertain them, connect them. I like theaters. I appreciate a good movie theater like this.
Thank you.
I don't
We
like
are
television.
fortunate.
I like theaters. That's kind of my tempo. I try to bring people back to that ritual. I'm not saying I'm the high priest, but I want to stage something by I like pretending, like through pretending something happened that we because that's not us, that's Will Smith, and we can be honest with each other, just deal with the devil, whatever we want to deal with. I still like that feeling that never go away. But that's not through line. It's just the need of a theater, the tempo of theater, so we can feel spiritual, so we can feel that group connection. In, as a group, we feel the same kind of privacy. I don't know how to put that in English or in Chinese, but you know, it's a theater. The theatrical effect that still attracts me, and sometimes that theatrical effect, I make movie about that overtake life, such as Last Caution, the echo that real existence, like a clone supposed to be not real, but when you see a clone, you feel like, am I special? Do I have self awareness, or am I just a piece of gene floating in the soup of universe? Uh, uh,
These are big
What am
questions
I?
for an action movie.
I'm worthless. When you see a clone, if I see my clone, I feel worthless. Like, what the hell am I? I like to share that feeling through the action movie to the audience.
I want to actually open it up to our audience now. I'm sure that some of you have questions. I think we have microphones on either side of the room. Maybe we can raise the house lights a little bit. And if you've got a question for Mr. Lee, we will bring a microphone up to you. I guess we'll start right here.
Can you hold the camera for me? Hi, director. I'd like to ask a question with my broken English. Born and raised in China as well. Well, first, thank you for creating such real yet also surreal experience for all. That's simply amazing. I am a tech enthusiast myself, watching China growing in the past 30 years and having huge changes. But on the other side, technology transcend distance and bring people to closer. Did we achieve that? I'm not sure. Like we can Skype anyone on the other side of the planet, but doesn't mean we can stay in close relationship. I wonder, is technology, your technical innovation is also stepping like the steps too fast? Like human cognition or perception is not catching up yet, and there might be a gap there. Did I make myself understood?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, that's not broken English. That's not the English I spoke when I did Sensibility. The Chinese type of modesty. When they treat you 12 courses, like, we don't have enough for you. I'm so sorry. Please take our meager treatment. No, I don't. I think technology is a tool. Take a junior, for example. It's not like we have a button we push some computer things, and then you see a live young Will Smith. It's a tool. It's a 500 people after we spent a year planning, shooting, capturing, measuring, and capturing him. To me, that's artistic endeavor. I think technology is a tool for us to chase our imagination. I don't really worry about it take over because I don't think we can ever chase, not at least not for a long while. We can catch up our imagination. It's a tool. It is not the thing itself. While you're learning it, you can get tacky. You can get like overloaded. Once you can master it, once we accept it, we know how it plays. Once it gets easy, I think you have a lot more free will. I think it helps create freedom to create breakthroughs. For example, such a story you can write about it. By the way, 10,000 years ago, language is technology. 100 years ago, oil painting is technology. Now we have those dots. That's technology. It depends on how you use it. For example, in a media like movie, which is a photorealistic media, to see two Will Smith, one present day, one younger, together and act to each other, that's a very uncanny feeling. Even before I realized what it is, I can imagine it's an uncanny feeling. You could never tell that story before because you cannot put this literally together. You don't have that technology. So when you have that, you take advantage and tell a story you never can afford to see before. You're unable to visualize it. How do you visualize the internal fight? A lot of abstract, actually, you can do it. I think technology is a tool. Really depends on how you use it.
Thank you for your question.
By the way, I'm a really low-tech person.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. The iPhones I can receive and call out, that's about it. But I want to see those pictures. Some technology person will help me. Some smart Canadian will help me how to figure all this out.
All right. Do we have another question? Maybe we can go right here. I don't know. Microphone's on its way to you. And then we'll go up in the back.
Ever since the 90s, when you had like Fantastic Four in the Ice Storm, or then you went on to make Hulk, and now to see you make a film like this, I've always wondered what your interest was in science fiction, action, comic book cinema. I wonder if you could talk about your interest in the genre, and now carrying through to this one we just watched.
No, I'm not a comic book person. Neither am I technology. Not at all. I'm quite the opposite. But as I said, I like to see certain things, and somebody helped me to make out to make it happen. I will describe it. Of course, I'm a professional. I'm talented this way. I will describe it in a way that inspired them to do something that's fantastical. I think I have a variety of interests in filmmaking. I would like to see my career as a forever film student. How do you learn to do that? It's just fascinating. And when you be a professional, if you hit something, people want you to do the same thing. Like people get angry when Bob Dylan try to sing a rock and roll song. They just throw stuff at him. People like to see you a certain thing. But for us filmmakers, I think I like to explore different things. But my baseline is really drama. I was trained that way. Sometimes not like I want to deviate from it. It's like my safety net. When I wasn't sure where it's going, there's always certain things. The thing you talk about through lines. Those are dramatic elements. No, not just one or two. The conflicts, 2 or 3 at least, they're in conflict. That's my. I don't want to call it comfort zone. That's where I sort of know I'm grounded. So each time I try to make a very different attempt into genres or mixed genre or styles. I don't really get science fiction, but if I need to use a little of that, I will use it. I keep that to the like this. I use that to the minimum. But they're fascinating stuff. When we can, when people want to pay, I'll try.
All right, thank you. We're going to go up here next.
Yeah. So my question is that when you're watching Gemini Man on a screen like this in 4K, 3D, 60 frames, right?
It's 2K.
2K, sorry. It's 2K. When you're seeing it on the screen like this, it's eye-popping. It's so realistic. And when it then goes to the home media market and you're just watching it on a regular TV, we don't even have, 3D televisions have gone the way of the dodo bird. So I was just wondering, how do you feel about your work translating from the screen to the home media market?
It's not as good. That's my far less good. That's the whole point.
All right.
So you have to come to theater.
Yes.
You're not watching a story. You're experiencing a story. I have not shown you the real deal yet, which the projectors made an hour from here.
Yes, we were just told that the Christie
someday I want to
company-
show you what I really shot. Yeah,
120 frames per second.
110 and 4K, and the brightness 6 times like this. The contrast is really, really exquisite. It's really pretty. That's a real deal. But you have a taste from this. I'm glad I can even show this in pretty regular theaters. But that projection, which I just did, the LA premiere, which moved that one big baby there, the new created, new package projectors. Everybody was like, in Chinese theater. It was so pretty. And people said this movie should be seen this way because it was shot for that.
Do you know next
It's just
September
exquisite.
this building?
It's just exquisite. It's so pretty.
I was just going to say next September this building turns 10 years old, so maybe for our birthday we can wish for
Let's do that.
this fancy new system to show this movie.
Let's show you the real deal of this. It's really amazing. It's really pretty.
All right, time for I think just 1 or 2 more questions. Do we have someone here on this side? Sorry, I think we're good. We've got someone behind you. Then we'll come to you.
What technology do you hope to use in your next project?
I'll keep exploring this. If I survive this, if this do some business, if people pay me to do the next one, if I can, I think I want to see what digital filmmaking. When you look at this, a lot of how we make movie doesn't really support the vision this requires. So I think a lot of just physically you pretend something happened. We make believe, we pretend something happened. It used to be physically you do it. We accept a stuntman, which is twice the size of Will Smith doing that flip, and you accept it. You know it's not him. So that's kind of a rules in the game. But with this media, it's not really okay. You can cast somebody else with his son or put on makeup and say that's Junior. Not quite so with this media. So I would like to apply what we learn here from Junior. This is a great learning process for me, for a lot of us working on the movie. Certainly Weta, who's the genius and supporter of creating that Junior. I think they did miracles. To change their pipelines, the working system, so this can be more affordable, apply to many things to help pretending something happened, to make believe. Anywhere from enhance age, muscles, little nuances, makeup, to sets. Our sets still look like set extension, not in progress. Even Junior looks pretty amazing. So a lot of things we can use what we learn here and apply it to make it look better, to make believe. So when you dimensionalize it, you can play that movie. That's something I would like to get into. It's still a long way before we realize how to make this kind of movie. We just began.
Okay, thank you. And we'll go to the last question right here.
Yeah, Mr. Lee, you seem to be a very humble person, even though you've won 3 Oscars for Best Pictures. And at the same time, your films all seem to have a very spiritual aspect. Are these related? And can you talk to this, your spiritual philosophy, or what motivates you when you're making these films?
I think I say quite a bit when I talk about fear and aggressions and curiosity. I think you mentioned modest. Did you say modest?
Humility, yes.
Humility. I think my humility comes from being honest. I would not dare to boast or be chest out. I'm just not that kind of person. If I say a strong statement, I'll get scared. Something might go wrong. I would want to be respectful, and I think people are respectful. I just want to be respectful. Probably has something with my Chinese upbringing. Confucius says so, my father says so, the school says so. If you're out of line, you're not right. Some punishment might come up. If not society, from something from above. You're supposed to be scared and humble because you're just a human. I think a lot come from that, from the Eastern culture. A lot of come from my genuine character, because in real life I can be really timid. I'm scared easily, but I'm doing something quite aggressive and at times bold and not sure, kind of rushed away. I should spend 20 years on this, but in 2 movies I got here, it's unsettling. I feel pretty unsafe, and I have to be modest, to be honest with you. That's about it, I think. Philosophy, we all have philosophies. I believe in balance. You have aggression here, you get modest there. Just being proper. But balance doesn't mean that you stay in the middle, but I feel about all right. I think that has something with the Chinese upbringing, because we're agriculture kind of a culture. You live forever and coexist with the universe, with the nature and stability. But I think my real talent is pretty Western. It's a Western drama that sort of work against it. So I'm like shifting. So that's about me. I hope you find my movie more interesting in my philosophy.
Both remarkable, Ang Lee. I want to thank you so much for being here, for sharing your film with us, and for so many wonderful films over the years. Please join me in thanking Ang Lee for being here tonight.
I love this city.